in, Bangladesh or Mexico or here, they can do the same thing. But if we're making it so that our unions are making it so the wages are so high, it used to be benefits was a job that you tried to improve yourself up to getting into a job that had benefits. You didn't used to get days off, health care, and all that stuff for customer service and entry-level jobs.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. Those people who raise their hands who don't want government to pass a law to stop companies from relocating overseas, what's your argument against it?
You can't.
Yes,
you
sir.
can't
Hold on, right there.
You can't force somebody to stay where they are and stay in business just because you put in some type of law to make them stay there. I'm a home builder, and I had non-union carpenters years ago, and they used to come up and picket us from Joliet, and the cops would sit at the end of the street with pictures, mugshots of the guys picketing, and they would go arrest them, throw them in jail, and the next day they were right out there again. Well, I told the union, I said, you can't force me to be union. Why don't you make it inviting so that I want to be union? And that's what the government needs to do. They need to make it inviting and better for your company to be able to stay there and stay in business. And
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, same point as far as moving, to another country or hiring in another country. What about when Boeing moved to what, either North or South Carolina from Washington because they wanted a right to work state? It's the same difference. And where do you stop government impeding in our rights?
Should the state go ahead?
Those jobs are still staying in this country.
But the government told them they
But
couldn't
where
open the
does it
plant
stop?
down there.
Hold on.
After they invested millions in the
I
plant.
just feel that it's more important to make sure jobs stay in this country than to let them be outsourced out of the country.
But see,
Whether they move
hold
from
up,
state
hold
to
up, hold up.
state, at least they're in this country.
Hold up. Yes, ma'am.
You may wind up with, if they're forced to stay, they have to fire people in order
That's
to
right.
stay.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford, it's an affordability.
Even if they fire some people,
Yeah.
there's more people working for them at that point than if they outsource.
You don't know,
to
it
the
could be a
country.
difference
Should
between what.
should the state of Illinois, should Springfield have the right to pass a law to prevent companies from leaving Illinois?
Absolutely not.
No.
Does anybody agree that they should have that right? Okay, so it's more the jobs leaving the country.
Who's going to stop them?
Well, no, and that's what I'll give you a real simple.
We're going to stop the president from doing these executive orders? Nobody's going to stop
No, my answer to you, my dear, is, oh my gosh, I never want to live in a country where the government can tell a company what to do. So my job as a government is just to make it easier for them to stay. I certainly don't want to I don't want to entice them to go, but I want to make this the most business-friendly country in the world and entice them to stay. But if I live in a country where a government can tell a company what to do, whoo, boy, that's not where I want to go.
I got to switch subjects. You can
Switch
clone-
subjects.
You can clone yourself. And you can create 4 Joe Walshes.
That's kind of scary.
2 in the Senate, 2 in the Congress. You're going to get rid of 2 rhinos in the Senate and 2
Oh,
rhinos in the
that's
Congress.
a tough question.
Who are you going to get rid of? Don't talk about the Democrats. Talk about the Republicans are every bit as much of the problem as the Democrats.
You know I'm going to run from that. I won't run from anything.
Don't run. No.
Okay,
Bonner, he's a failure. He's not going after
Hold on.
Holder at all.
hold on. I should ask these two to turn off the tape, but I won't.
Reload.
Reload. No. It's a good question.
Because until we can look at ourselves, we can't yell at the Democrats.
Look, and I'm going to answer his question, and I will not shy from it, and I will give you names. Illinois will never be fixed unless the Republican Party is cleansed. You can get mad at Mike Madigan all you want, and he should be removed from Springfield. The Democrats in Springfield have no clue. The only way Illinois will be saved is if the Republicans save it, but the Republicans won't save it unless we put people in the Republican Party who believe in limited government and freedom. Same thing in Washington. If I were in charge, I'd get rid of anybody that's been there, any Republican that's been there too long. I would respectfully say Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, go home and get a real job, and just like the rest of us, you've been there too long. I was glad to see Dick Lugar leave. Oh my God, 80-something years old, didn't even live in the state of Indiana anymore. I'm glad that we were able to respectfully remove a Republican like that. In the House, you got plenty of them. Guys that have just been there too long. I love John Boehner, great guy, good, great, fine leader, but we got too many Republicans who have, and I'm not talking about Boehner now, we have too many Republicans who have been there too long, and they've forgotten what this soul is.
And they won't let you do anything, will they?
I'll be frank, they don't love me.
They don't encourage you, behind you, behind closed doors? They don't say you're what we need?
They don't love me. Yes, sir.
So would you vote for a term limit law?
Hey Dino, raise your hand. I'm buying him a drink.
Huh?
That's my favorite question of the afternoon. On me. I pledged 6 years. I introduced a term limit bill last year saying members of Congress 6, members of the Senate 2 6-year terms. I got about 9 guys to co-sign my bill, so it's probably not going anywhere. Absolutely, I so strongly believe in term limits. Guys, Republican or Democrat, I don't care who you are. The longer you've been there, the more you forget about what it's like at Dino's. The longer you've been there, the less chances of you ever showing your face at Dino's. They forget about us and they keep growing government. You give me term limits tomorrow. Thank you. You got a beer on me.
Would you vote for term limits? I'm down.
Dino! He's a pain in my side, but buy him one.
Can you run for Senate?
Huh?
Can you run for Senate?
Who, me?
Yeah, your term limit in the House. Now can you go to
Can you
Senate?
make it 2 terms in the House?
You be quiet. I'm not buying it.
I'm saying don't limit yourself to, okay, you
No.
did the House already.
I have
Now
no
can you go-
problems with people coming back home and then running for another office. That's fine. I just think you only should have a limited amount of term in an office.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
so you should be able to go to, because then you're gonna go to the presidency after the Senate.
Yeah. Buy him as beer for life. Look, guys.
That's on film, you better be careful.
Give him a beer. There you
Can I go back to Obamacare?
No, but I want to say one thing and then go to Obamacare. Look, guys, when I'm done with politics, I'm going to go back and teach. That's what I was doing before this. Our founders, our founding fathers envisioned this. This isn't complicated. You're yanked off your farm, you go to D.C., you... Oh, can I get that? See, it's always dangerous to sit by Joe Walsh. You don't enrich yourself. You don't stay there forever. You come back home and it's your turn or it's your turn. Look how far away we are from that. That's where we got to go back to.
You go back to work when you go back home?
You go back
How
home.
about going when we're gonna be paying them? You know, you're not gonna be holding the seat, but now we're gonna pay you?
Well, you come back home and get a job just like the rest of us.
You should.
Absolutely. No, and look, I agree with you. Too many Republicans and Democrats don't do that. Democrats don't do it because they really believe in government. It's their job. Republicans don't do it because they end up falling in love with the job. It's a huge problem.
Doesn't influence public seniority. And that's you want to make a difference.
You want
The
to
only way you can do that is stay there.
Well, yeah, but the whole, if you had term limits, you would change the whole
I
system.
understand that. What's going to happen to the lobby?
What's going to happen to the lobbies?
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, I promised you.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'll go
okay,
here.
I'll remember it.
Yes, ma'am.
On Obamacare, when people want to talk about how wonderful and great Obamacare is going to be, I work for the VA, and if you want to see the failure of Obamacare, look at the VA. The waiting limits to get seen by a doctor, the fact that you don't see the same doctor every time you go in, the fact that you have to wait for equipment, the fact that you have to wait for them to decide whether or not your life quality is going to be improved by you having a certain surgical procedure or not, the fact that we have, for the men and women coming back from the war now, which is what my primary thing is, I have a caseload of over 1,000 for me, for men and women coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. One person, we have 3 case managers at our hospital. All 3 of us have over 1,000 people that we're responsible for. there is no way humanly possible for one person to be able to monitor 1,000 people and make sure that their needs are being met. This week I had one suicide attempt. I have had several suicide attempts and several suicide completions this year, because try as much as I do to stay on top of them, stay in touch with them, I am only one person, and I can only do so much, and I can only get the family so involved, and I can only get them seen by a psychiatrist or a psychologist if that psychiatrist or psychologist has an opening. And our men and women are coming back from the Middle East, and guess what the majority of our psychiatrists and psychologists are? They're of Middle Eastern descent. Oh, but we're supposed to be a touchy-feely, kumbaya country where we're supposed to accept all of this, but you take someone who just got back from Afghanistan or Iraq, and you tell them that they're supposed to trust someone to give them medications that's from the Middle East, it doesn't work. Now, we're going to do that with Obamacare by putting people into places and saying, when we don't have enough doctors right now, and there's places where there's waiting lists to get a doctor, and then we're going to say, oh, you can have a doctor, and oh, you can have a specialist, but somebody who's sitting in an office in D.C. is going to decide whether or not your life quality fits that. And if you want to read something really scary, Ezekiel, Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel Emanuel, he's a doctor, and he's a bioethicist, and he wrote a paper when he was in school, and it was in journals, and he talks about the value of human life, and he was one of the people that was talking to Obama and all this Obamacare stuff, and he believes that under age 3, if a child has, there's birth defects and stuff like that, that a child has not yet designed its personality, so a person can still say, yes, that child should be put to death because that child should be allowed to die.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you.
All sorts of
Let me
stuff.
stop you. Make
You
two-
had an interest, no, you had an interest in being in Lake Zurich several months ago. You got some of these things.
Yes.
Do you have any plans to do that again, or?
Yes.
And invite Tammy. if you'd like.
Two quick points. You judge a country by how well the country takes care of those who have served. And right now, folks, we're doing a lousy job of caring for the men and women who have served. Think about this. 18 a day. 18 a day. 18 veterans every day in this country are taking their lives. 18 men and women a day. That is criminal. And we have more and more coming home now, younger and younger, surviving on the battlefield. And to your point about Obamacare, the health care that we give our veterans is not nearly up to snuff. Now, I'll make one other point about Obamacare. You want to see what Obamacare is going to be? Just look at Europe. Just look at socialized medicine in other countries, where there is rationing, where when people of means want real care, where do they come? Here. You were going to, to your question. Yeah, no, I'll tell you. This problem that you talked about, and we've had a couple roundtables on the VA and veterans issues, the backlog, the lack of resources right now. When she's talking about 1,000 veterans per caseworker, that's not at all unusual. I am a guy who believes in limited government. I don't want my government doing a lot. This is an area where we have to spend money and resources, because we should never treat our men and women like this. This is embarrassing. And so I'm hoping it's an issue that Republicans will take up. And I'm going to try to lead the charge on it.
Joe,
It's terrible.
just one comment for yourself and the young lady sitting next to yourself. Just an overview of Obamacare and condensing a couple things that she had said. She dissed the unions a little bit. And I'm a union parent, I'm a Teamster. And so I'm a retired Teamster. It's good to say Obamacare is for shit. It's good to say this, but you know what? Before, our system wasn't doing pretty good on the whole system of healthcare. Healthcare has believed the United States economy for a long time.